Good morning. I'm Dr. Hari R, Assistant Professor, Department of Veterinary and Animal Husbandry Extension, College of Veterinary Science and Animal Husbandry, NDVS, Jabalpur. So, children, today we are studying about the basics of marketing, which is a topic of the Veterinary and Animal Husbandry Extension Education syllabus, third year. So, I think all of you are familiar with the concept of market. What is a market? How market functions, and what are the dynamics of market? All these things you might be knowing a little bit. But being a student of veterinary extension and being since you need to deal about markets as say extension agent in the veterinary science subject, I think you should have a better idea about this marketing. So first let me introduce you the subject of marketing. The subject of marketing, the market has its origin from the Latin word mercatus. That is, what is the origin? The origin is the Latin word mercatus, which means merchandise. So, it can be a place or a building where the commodities are sold. For example, a supermarket. Consider supermarket as it's a place or a building where the commodities are sold. Okay. You can see here that's this is a supermarket. So it can be a place or a building where commodities are sold. Also, it can be a set of potential buyers or sellers. It can be a set of potential buyers or sellers. You see that such as a milk market. It can be a potential buyers where you can see a potential buyers or sellers of milk coming together to sell and purchase milk. So it can be a place or a building where commodities are sold such as a supermarket, or it can be a group of potential buyers or sellers of the product. For example, milk का market, meat का market, etc. like that. Okay? Next, what's coming to the definitions and other things in the market? Market can be considered as a sphere within which the price determination forces operate. Okay? Because market is where you supply the things and where demand for things originates. So, since both of these are together, it can be said that price determining forces operate in the market, and the area within which the forces of supply and demand converge to establish single price. Okay, in market there is a market price is there, always there. And how does the market price arises? It is due to the supply and demand. Okay, how does it arises? It is due to the supply and demand. And you have already dealt with supply and demand curve. You know, this is suppose in a market, uh, if this is the price between the price and if this is a price P and this is a quantity Q, quantity as the price increases, the supply, what happened to supply as the price increases, supply increases, and as case of demand, demand decreases, and there will be a equilibrium point. Okay? You know, all know this, there's equilibrium point. Equilibrium point will be there. You can see it is the equilibrium point. Point. Okay? Where demand and supply works together. So, okay? So, and based on this point, the market prices are determined. Right? This is how the market price is determined, based on this equilibrium point. Is that clear? Then, so the area within which the force of supply and demand converge to establish a single price. It cannot be confined to a particular marketplace, but though it is can say that usually when we think about the concept of market in layman term, we are confined to a particular marketplace where things are bought or sold, but it is not at all like in that region, because the whole of any region, but market can be whole of any region, in which buyers and sellers are in such a free intercourse with one another that the prices of same goods tend to equality easily and quickly. That is, we can say that regional market, port markets, and India as a market. We can consider the entire country as a market for IT products and for something as electronic for China as a market. So it can be regional buyers and sellers and such intercourse. That means such interactions with one another that prices tend to equate. After a few in equilibrium scenario, the prices normally equate very easily and quickly. So market is place which is primarily focusing on price and where demand and supply converge to establish equilibrium price. Clear? Okay. Moving to next slide. Market can be considered social institution. We have already said in sociology dealt with the 5 basic institutions, but there are also some institutions within it, and marketing is under the economic institution domain where which perform the activities and provide facility for exchanging commodities between buyers and sellers. Okay, here we can say that the important thing is we are exchanging of the commodities. Exchanging of commodities happens in the case of markets. What happens? Exchanging of commodities between the buyers and sellers happens in case of markets. Clear? Then, if you can economically interpret the market refers not only to a place but to a commodity or commodities and buyers and sellers who are in free intercourse with one another. So, if you economically interpret a market is not only a place. Yes, obviously a place is a part of or part or component of market, but it also includes a commodity or commodities, milk or meat or any other livestock commodities and buyers and sellers. It also includes the persons who are coming to purchase the thing and persons who are coming to sell the things who are in free intercourse with one another. So, what is market? If you economically interpret market refers not only to a place but also to a commodity or commodities and buyers and sellers who are in free intercourse with one another. Right? Here, next, let's see what are the components of the market. So, for a market to exist, certain conditions are must. Okay? So, how a market exists? The existence of a good or commodity. The primary thing with a market is that there should be existence of a good or a commodity for transaction. That is, there should be a good or commodity. There should be milk or meat or any other commodity, rubber, or you can see that rice or wheat, any commodity is needed for the transaction. It is not necessary that it's a physical existence. For example, when you book in Flipkart or Amazon, there is not physical commodity is not present at that time, but there later only we can get the physical good, or otherwise it's not. For example, labor market is another example. Another good example, physical component does not exist. Labor is not something which we can feel, but we need labor. So for work in rice field or veterinary labor to treat the animals. So commodity is there or good is there, but it's not a physical existence. Sometimes it may be intangible goods, right? So if the existence of a good or commodity is needed, it's not necessarily the physical existence of the commodity is there. It can be an intangible goods. What is it? It can be intangible. Okay. It can be intangible. Intangible. Okay, I'll write it here using my this. That is the commodity. It's not necessary that it should be tangible. It can be intangible. Okay, is that clear? Commodity can be intangible commodity also. So, okay. Then there should be obviously existence of buyers and sellers. Then there should be obviously existence of buyers and sellers in this. There should be obviously existence of buyers and sellers. Okay. and there should be some type of relationship between the buyers and sellers. Okay, the sellers and buyers are in some type of relationship. Okay, and there should be a demarcation of area. That's this area is for market. Okay, we can say, but in case of online marketing, there will not be a demarcation of area. But in case of any market, that is vegetable market is here, this market is there's a demarcation of area, and usually it's ideal conditions say that perfect competition exists in market. That's only theoretical conditions. In the true case, perfect competition is not necessary for market. What is it? Perfect competition is not necessary for market. You cannot say that. That is perfect competition is not necessary for market. That is fundamental. Usually, I have seen that the equilibrium point is drawn here. So that is the condition in which perfect competition is there. But it is not necessary to have a perfect perfect competition is not necessary for the market to function. Clear? Is that clear for you? Right. Next is next we could we are dealing with the dimensions of the market. If you look at the dimension, first is the location. It's a market in Jabalpur or market in Valdeba or market in Riva or any other area. Then another area is about the area of cover. How big is the market? It can be a regional market, it's a big region area, it can be village market. Then the time span, the time for which the market is working can be a little bit time span, and the volume of transaction, the quantity of commodities which are interacted between the customers. What are the quantity of commodities? How much volume of transactions means the quantity of commodities which are interacted between the volume of transaction means the quantity of commodity between buyers which are interacted between the buyers and sellers, right? That is the thing. Okay. Next is time span, volume, and the nature of transaction, number of commodities. How many number of commodities interact in the market? The nature, it can be direct cash transaction, it can be transaction where the cash is given later only, it can be a transaction where the online transactions can be there. Then there is a degree of competition. How the competition level is a complete competition, perfect market, monopolistic market, oligopolistic market. Because if it's a few number of sellers, it will be oligopoly, and if it's a oligopoly, if it's a large number of seller, only single seller, it's monopoly. Lot of markets are there. Then nature of commodities, whether it's highly perishable commodity or high, it's a long store commodity which has durable commodity. In such cases, the market can be then classified as stage of marketing. What is stage of marketing? There are various stages in the marketing. In which stage of marketing is this commodities market? It's in the final stage, it's the raw material stage, or the final complete company, the intermediate stage. Then extent of public intervention. Then there is public, completely public out market. It's a private, completely private market. It's cooperative market. You can classify markets into all the type of markets. Then type of population. Say who is the population who come to the market. For example, it can be higher class, it can be middle class, rural class, it can be artisans, it can be other who are own the vehicles, vehicle market. Then accrual of marketing margin. How much marketing margin? This wholesale market accrual is something different. Retail market accrual is something different, right? In this matter, the market dimensions can vary. Is it clear? Now, coming to next, we are dealing with market structure. So, if you look, what is the market structure actually? What is the structure? Lead market was structure. Structure is something which we like to just call an organization and dimension. Okay, that's the organization. How it is structured things means it is organized in a particular way. Structure of the animal husbandry department. structure of the College of Veterinary Science and Animal Husbandry. So it has an organization and certain dimensions are there. Okay. So if we look into there, we can say that it should have a shape, it should have a size, it should have a design. Okay. Everything have a shape. The market should have a shape or it should have a size. The size of the college or size of anything or design. How is this designed? Okay. This market to have a structure. That is, the market have a shape. It's not sometimes not be a real tangible shape or shape which can be seen. Anyway, it has got a shape, how it is formed, and size, number of persons involved by itself, and design, how the design of the market is constructed. Okay. So if you look at this is evolved for the purpose of functioning. So the design, shape, and size of the market is evolved for the purpose of functioning. Okay. And the function as in turn influence the structure. Okay. You should know that the function has in turn influenced the structure. The function you can say that it in turn influence the structure, right? The function, oh my god. The function will in turn influence the structure. It's gone. That is there. So the function is something that influence the structure, and structure is something that limit the function. If there is no enough structure, the function, many of the functions might be limited. So it is as a got a bidirectional relationship. That is, the function in turns influence the structure, and according to the function, structure may be modified, or in other sense, the structure can in turn influence the function. Right? Clear? Next is that, so the market structure is going to be said about the organizational characteristics of a market which influence the nature of competition, prices, and affect the conduct of the business. So, the market structure we can say that is the nature of a market which influence, what is it? Which influence the nature of competition. It influences how the market competition is occurring in the market and how the things are priced and affect the conduct of the business in the market. So, market structure is something which influences the organizational characteristics of the market. Here, then pricing and conduct of business. And it also influences the characteristics of the market, such as the traders' behavior and the performance. That is, it influences the traders' behavior and their performance. And marketing institution, it also influences the functional activity of the marketing influences how the organization of the functional activity of a market as an institution. Market is a social institution, already said in the previous slide. So how the organization of market, every institution has got an organization and an activity which influences activity. So the marketing structure affects the organization. I've already told the structure is affected by the function. So marketing structure is influenced the organization and which in turn influences the functional activity, right? So, marketing structure is essential for identifying the imperfections in the performance of market. If you can analyze the market structure, you can identify what are the imperfections in the market, how these imperfections can be solved. So, if we analyze the market structure, we can identify all the what are imperfections in the market and how this can be solved. Clear? Right. So coming to the next slide, then the components of market structure. The components of market structure determine the conduct and performance of the market. So This is something which determines how the market get conducted and performed. And it includes concentration of market power. Who are the forces? What are the forces, or what are the persons, or what are the things where the market power has been concentrated? And this also depends upon, that is, market structures performance depend upon the degree of product differentiation, because market structure has an organization type, size, design. Then product differentiation is a component of this size, shape, and design. Okay, in design average you have got a product differentiation. If there very less the product differentiation, if you have a single or two or three products, then the market structure will be according to it, and the performance will be also according to it. Okay, if you have a less diverse market, the performance, the number of interactions between the number of the buyer sellers is very low, and since the product is very less is very number, and that is embedded in this market structure. Okay, clear? Then another structure component of market structure is the conditions for entry of firms in the market. For example, if you have got a cooperative market, you can say that not each and every firm can enter the market. No private entities allowed to enter the market. Only the cooperatives which are registered can enter the market. So, components of market structure also includes the conditions for entry of firms into market, then the flow of market information, how the information flows from the market to other persons, and from other person to markets, because that will determine the price, market demand, and other condition, what all changes that we make in the market condition, etc. And degree of integration from the horizontal and vertical integration is there. That is, horizontal integration means from the primary producer to the seller, and from also to the consumer, and also the vertical integration between the various sellers and various buyers. So all these are components of market structure, and this all things influence the performance. That is how the market power is, whether it's concentrated in small persons or it's concentrated, it is dispersed in a lot of buyers. Then that influence the market. It's a component of market structure, and that influences the conduct. If it's a monopolistic market, then the person itself is the king, and he can dictate his own rules. Okay, and performance will be as per his wish. Okay, market may not be highly efficient. So concentration of power is one thing. Degree of product differentiation, obviously, it's a component of the market structure, and it influences the market. Then conditions for entry of firms into the market, then flow of market information, and degree of integration. Now, coming to market conduct. What is market conduct? Market conduct can be said as the patterns of behavior of firms. The patterns of the behavior of firms, especially in relation to pricing and their practices in adopting and adjusting to the market in which they function, right? It can be the patterns of behavior of the firms, especially in relation to pricing. Taking how the firms behave, especially with respect to pricing and their practices in adopting and adjusting to the market in which they function. This depend upon the market sharing and price setting policies. The market conduct obviously depend upon the market, how much the market is shared by how many persons, and how the price is determined. Sometimes whether it's government regulation or not, is there actual market demands, or if there is control of government. All these things, policies aimed at coercing rivals. How you are dealing with your rivals, whether you can overcome your rivals, or whether you have got a highly friendly relationship with your rivals. And policy towards setting quality of the products. Then another thing is that the price is fixed again by the policies by market conditions based on the certain quality of the product. Whether your market is much more in contact with low class persons, much more is decided for the low class person, the quality will be low. So all these policies affect how the market is conducted. Market conduct is influence the policies towards setting of the quality of product, policies aimed at coercing the rivals, in market sharing and price setting policies, right? Now, market performance. Market performance is the economic result that flow from the industry as each firm pursues its particular line of conduct. That is, market performance can be described as the economic results that flow from the industry as each firm pursues particular line of conduct. That is, how the market performance is primarily economic matter. How each firms pursues its line of how each firms performs its conduct in a market. Depending upon this, the market performance is based on conduct. Market performance is highly depend on the market conduct. So, how the market conduct each firm is influencing market conduct, and in such a character that will in turn affects the market performance. Here, it depends upon the production patterns, how the commodity is produced, patient is produced, or demand pattern the market, how the customers demand product, where the customers have there is a plethora of customers, there is a variety of customers, or there is a very small amount of customers. Then it will depend upon the cost and patterns of marketing functions. How the marketing functions, there are 7 marketing functions which I like price, then market information systems like that, which I'll later explain this part. How the marketing functions are conducted, how the cost is determined, what are the technological changes in the industry. So market performance dependent on definitely different technological changes. Some technology which reduces the cost of production, then market performance also changed because the flow from the industry to each firm may increase or decrease as the cost of production is decreased. More amount of commodity can be produced with the same amount of raw materials, so flow may increase or sometimes flow may decrease. Everything can happen. So these are the things which affect the market. So this is something about the basics of the marketing that we can conduct, that is market structure, market conduct, and market performance. And you should, before going to agriculture in this class we have studied about markets, again market structure, again market conduct, and market performance, right? And you need to know be thorough about these things. That's all for today. Thank you.